Welcome back to this week's episode of the Dead Air Records podcast. My name is Jess.
And I'm Mark.
And we are the hosts of this podcast, which is based in our independent record shop right here in Liverpool. This week, we are talking about film soundtracks, which we're really excited about because we're not only big lovers of music, we're big lovers of film as well. So now we get to talk about both and the combination.
It's one of those. I think I was a lover of film probably before music. And my earliest memories are watching films and, discovering my parents' VHS collection back in the 80s. Crazy.
I feel like it's a lot of what shapes your taste as well as you're growing up. Like you'll hear bits and pops of songs on different films. And then, that's how you kind of discover before the days of streaming.
Yeah.
In the back old days. That's how you would discover a lot of music was through TV and film. But also games as well. Like I think one thing that we want to talk about today is like when we talk about soundtracks, we're not only talking about the soundtracks that, go alongside the films on the big screen, but it's also TV shows, it's games. And I guess also it's not only like originally scored and composed music, it's also some films out there that use pre-existing tracks from bands as well.
Which is really interesting. So it's going to be interesting to dive into it. I think I found this episode really hard to do because there's just so much to choose from. So I have a list of honorable mentions that I feel like we have to declare before we can really pick our favorites. I think it's really important that we say these are our favorites.
Yeah, which is subjective.
Subjective, so please go easy on us. Not the best. That's not what we're saying. These are our favorite ones. So.
Yeah, completely. But there are obviously some soundtracks in there and some composers in there that we have to talk about in the honorable mentions because not to talk about them in a soundtracks episode would be criminal.
So let's start with
honorable mentions.
Honorable mentions. Let's say like Danny Elfman. I could do a whole podcast on Danny Elfman.
10 episode.
It's just crazy how much I love his music, right? So we're talking Beetlejuice, Edward Scissorhands, Batman. It just goes on and on and on. I love those soundtracks. They were instrumental in defining my music taste growing up. I used to be in a band, and his music would influence that quite a lot. So, you can't really, but we haven't chosen Danny Elfman for these just because it would pretty much be a whole episode on him. So also same goes for Hans Zimmer, right? I mean, we could do
soundtracks.
We could do like a whole episode on Hans Zimmer. So again, you have a soft spot for Interstellar.
Can't watch that film without bursting into tears every 20 minutes.
I remember going to the cinema with you to watch that, and we were in there for like 5 minutes and I was really enjoying it. It was like the cornfield scene or whatever. And I turned around to you to look at you to be like, oh, this is good. And you were just like, I was like, nothing's even happened yet. I don't know what's going on. But
and it wasn't even just like, oh, there's some tears. There was like an audible, like blubbing.
You were weeping. Yeah. That's how I would describe it. You were weeping in the cinema.
And as soon as like the tear ducts had broken, that was
going
on. So it's an incredible soundtrack, but it's a film that I can never watch again because I'm absolutely traumatized.
Yeah. So Interstellar, True Romance, Gladiator. Again, the depth of Hans Zimmer's back catalogue is so big that we can't really.
It just seems a bit too Goliath for us to tackle this episode.
Same, I guess, with the Tarantino soundtracks, curated so incredibly. But again, like I don't really. Again, it could be an episode on Tarantino soundtracks. Don't really want to do that today. Other honorable mentions, some really cool bits would be like the Black Mirror soundtracks.
Yes, they're incredible.
They're mental. So. Clint Mansell, we'll get to in a moment. San Junipero.
Yes. Sigur Rós did Hang the DJ. Max Richter did Nosedive.
And Ryuichi Sakamoto did Smithereens. So
incredible list of composers that have soundtracked that TV series.
Mental. Also, Max Richter did The Leftovers,
That's an incredible soundtrack as well. I feel like, your title music can really set a show, and I feel something that comes into that as well as like Succession. That theme tune. Nicholas Britell. Yeah. So who did the piano? Like as soon as you hear those chords, you're like, I know what this is.
I love it. And then TV shows. Severance. How much do you love Severance?
I mean, if we could change this podcast into just being about Severance, I would be 100% with that.
It wouldn't take much to convince you to do that.
Yeah, so like any excuse to bring it up. But yeah, Theodore Shapiro, who did the all of the music for Severance, but the title track as well, incredible. And then just to indulge me for one moment, when they did press that soundtrack on vinyl as well, they brought out like an innie version and an outie version. So yeah. You have these two lovely vinyl pressings, which I would love to have in the collection. Please add to your wish list of gifts for me. That press that's really nice as well.
That's really cool. But it's not just TV and it's not just film, it's games as well.
Yeah.
So we talk about The Last of Us.
Yeah, that's an amazing soundtrack.
Really, really cool.
And nice to see that come to life on the screen in a different way as well
Yeah,
for the last
really
two
good.
seasons.
And also Minecraft. Right?
That's great. Yeah.
Not the film soundtrack, but the actual vinyl pressing.
Yeah, we had that in recently actually, and
How
it was something
good was
that
that?
like I've never played Minecraft,
Neither
and I
have
had
I.
listened to the soundtrack, but I was like, oh, this is in. I'll give it a listen.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's beautiful.
It was really nice.
It's such a nice little like sort of very like dreamy 8-bit chill.
Ambient.
Yeah, very ambient.
Yeah.
Yeah, like got Brian Eno vibes to it. It's really nice.
I thought it was great. So that being said,
Yeah, that done and dusted and
Yeah.
drawn a line underneath. Now let's dive into some of our favorites and I guess why. That's the
Yeah.
big reason of, why we're talking about those today, like why have we selected these as favorites.
okay. So
Do you want to kick us off?
yeah, I'll so I'm going to talk about Clint Mansell's The Fountain, right, from 2006. His films, the early work of Aronofsky, really just I was the right age, I was the right customer at the right time. They kind
2006, right?
Yeah, 2006. So, but the early work like Pi and Requiem for a Dream, I just fell in love with those films. So, so this is the third film in his back catalogue, and it's got a spiritual vibe. He worked with the Kronos Quartet, so it's kind of like a classical piece. But Clint Mansell was in Pop Will Eat Itself. He was like a big band from the 80s and 90s, so he understands like rock as well, and there's a lot of rock sensibilities to it. So it's one of these, I kind of feel like with Requiem for a Dream, everyone loves Requiem for a Dream.
It's a cult.
It's a cult
classic.
It's a massive classic. And I think with that, a lot of people kind of saw it as like a cultural moment, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It was about drugs. I think a lot of people misunderstood what that film was about. And then when The Fountain came out, a lot of people hated it. A lot of people panned it because they were like, well, what... I don't understand this. What is this about? It's just a little bit,
I guess Requiem for Dream serves a couple of different purposes, but if you were sort of expecting maybe like a cultural commentary, which is one layer of Requiem for a Dream, like the Fountain, I guess you could argue it does do that, but Aronofsky's definitely taken it to like a deeper and more like spiritual level that maybe you weren't seeking out in the follow-up to Requiem.
This is it. And I was like, I was young and I was like trying to find meaning in the world, and you were reading books and like trying to find things, and it was one of those films that kind of just smashed me. And I remember watching it for the first time and just being like, wow, I don't know what this guy's trying to say, but it's hitting me in all the right ways. And the soundtrack is a massively imperative part of that. I think there's only maybe 10% of the film that the soundtrack isn't playing for.
So it really becomes like an additional character in it.
It's a massive part of the film. So yeah, that soundtrack for me is something that I've listened to over the years, and it's just stayed with me. On vinyl, it's almost impossible to find. Goes for hundreds of pounds, and I just fell in love with that. So.
And it's classical at its core as well. So I think that's what's quite interesting. Sometimes people don't consider themselves fans of classical music, but then a lot of people's entry point into classical music is through film scores.
Yes. And, Clint Mansell went on to do hundreds of... his early work was primarily with Aronofsky. And so, there are, as I say, the other soundtracks he did were great with, Requiem for a Dream, Moon... he did that with, I forget his name, Duncan Jones. Those soundtracks are incredible, but I just feel like there's something perfect about that body of work. So, yeah, The Fountain, 2006, Clint Mansell. That's my shout. Should we move on?
Yeah, lovely.
Okay, so we're going to talk about Vanilla Sky.
Yes, so 2001 film.
Who does it star, Jess?
It stars Tom Cruise.
And how do you feel about Tom Cruise?
Do you know what? I get ripped all the time, and I'm fine with it now. But I'm a big fan of Tom Cruise's work. Yeah. Mission Impossible is a guilty pleasure. But also, there is a little collection of films out there that are really, really fucking good.
Yeah. And
like Vanilla Sky, Eyes Wide Shut, that whole early 2000s era.
Yeah. You theorized that this was his real period of attempting to get awards.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think he was really trying to go for the Oscars during this time. And that's why you've got these sort of very select films that he was going for. But anyway, that's my theory. Putting it out there.
It's a remake, isn't it? The film is a remake of a Spanish movie called Open Your Eyes.
And it stars Penelope Cruz in both, right?
In the same roles in both films, which is pretty cool. So, she had a really good understanding of what it was going to be during the filming of it. And I feel like that kind of Lynch pins the whole film. And yeah, for those people who haven't seen Vanilla Sky, please watch it. It's a very underrated film. I feel like a bit misunderstood. I think Tom Cruise has also said he feels like it's one of the ones that got away. People didn't really buy into at the time.
And it's Cameron Crowe who's the director. So who previously had worked with him with like Jerry Maguire, but had also done like Almost Famous. So yeah,
he's really good.
Catalog.
Great director, great film.
And I guess what we're looking at here is that this soundtrack isn't originally composed.
It's not a score.
Music. It's not a score. No. This is hand-selected songs to suit the mood of the film and to take you on a journey as a watcher as well.
Yeah, so some great tracks on there. There's like R.E.M., Sweetness Follows. That's the one that kills me off in the film. But there's like Jeff Buckley. There's Peter Gabriel, Mark Kozoleka, Red House Painters, Sigur Rós, like we said, Peter Gabriel. It opens with Everything in Its Right Place by Radiohead, from the best Radiohead album. And yeah, it's just brilliant. But what's interesting is on the soundtrack, there are tracks that were on the film that aren't included. So Beach Boys' Good Vibration plays like a massive part of the culmination of the film.
Brian Wilson.
I know it's sore, right?
Yeah.
R.I.P. Brian Wilson.
R.I.P. Brian Wilson. Yeah. Favourite, one of the best albums of all time.
Yeah, we'll always have Pet Sounds. But also Spiritualized as well.
Yeah.
Which for years I was like, what is that song?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's Ladies and Gentlemen, We're Floating in Space, which holds a very special place in my heart. So yeah, I just think overall it's just one of those soundtracks that really kicks you in the gut. And yeah, if you haven't seen the film, please go and check it out and let us know what you think.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about Her, which is a 2013 film by Spike Jonze.
Let's go.
And yeah, it's like a sci-fi romance, and it's got Joaquin Phoenix in as the lead character, and then you've also got Scarlett Johansson, who plays the voice of the AI device that Joaquin Phoenix falls in love with in this film.
Right.
So you kind of start with Joaquin Phoenix's character is called Theodore. He sort of starts down and out post the kind of the breakup of a marriage, and then slowly over the course of the film starts to develop this relationship with an AI. And like, this is 2013 that this is coming out in.
I remember it coming out at the time and just being like, it's kind of unrealistic. And now I'm like, kind of,
hi ChatGPT.
Yeah,
how can I
kind of having a relationship with my ChatGPT? Like,
it's crazy. Yeah, it's got all the sort of like soft tech vibes of Black Mirror, when sort of like the technology isn't like this really silver sharp edged thing that kind of like gets inserted into a film. It's very much it's a lot more human, and you're kind of understanding relationships, the breakdown of relationships and the complexities of them through this conversation that you have with Joaquin Phoenix and Scarlett Johansson as a voice and not as a face or as a physical person. But the soundtrack is composed by Arcade Fire and Owen Pallett, who I believe did the strings for Arcade Fire in the early days, but left the band after the first
Funeral,
album.
I think.
Yeah. And Owen is a solo artist and composer in his own right as well. But what the soundtrack really does in the film is it becomes this, like, it shapes your identity of like who Scarlett Johansson is
Right.
the AI. So all you know about this person is that they're a voice, they're talking to Joaquin Phoenix, but so you need all of the soundtrack in there to kind of like take you through their relationship and take you
Okay.
through those moments of intimacy, but also take you through like the bits of jealousy and the bits of like concern and worrying, and you know, there's like little things in there. So yeah, I think the soundtrack, for me, I've wanted to talk about it because I feel like the soundtrack plays a very unique and important role in the film, where it acts as this additional
character
in the film completely, and shapes the identity of one character who you never even see,
Right,
but you
that's
have
amazing.
a full-on relationship with them, understanding their romance as it continues.
Okay, so next up, I'm going to talk about one of the greatest soundtracks of all time. Hard to say it's not. It's Trainspotting.
Wow, that's a big one.
1996. I have some anecdotal information about this. I had a very spiritual experience in a record shop.
All of your suggestions have like a spiritual
I
vibe
kind
to
of
them.
like, and they're all from a similar sort of period of time in my youth, right? So it's weird how music kind of shapes your life, you know, as you're growing up. So
The soundtrack of your life. Sorry.
Okay, careful now. All right.
Terrible puns for season 2.
Yeah. So we're talking Lust for Life by Iggy Pop. We're talking Deep
Which is
Blue
the big
Day.
scene at the beginning, right? Running down the streets
Running
of Glasgow.
down the street, yeah. It was crazy. It was great. It's a great film.
It's an iconic scene.
Yeah. And so I was a young lad, and my friend had asked me to join him on a trip to our local town. And on the way, he was like, "Oh, just eat this." And I ate it and had a bit of a weird rest of the day, I'll be honest. And basically, I remember being in a record shop, and you know they have those old headphone
Like listening
booths type thing. I remember you know, having those headphones on as things were getting a bit weird, and I was listening to something or other, I can't remember, and my friend had got a bit worse for wear, and he fell over and slammed into the listening post, and the opening, like, he hit the Trainspotting soundtrack, and Lust for Life by Iggy Pop came on, and I was just transfixed by dun 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 dun. I was like, oh my god,
the drums kick in.
Yeah, I was like, what is going on? And yeah, so that was around that time, and Trainspotting in '96 was everywhere. It was all over the news, on the buses, on the billboards. It was the biggest film of the year.
And was that had you seen the film at that point, or was that your first experience of hearing the music?
Do you know, it's a weird film, right? It's all about taking heroin, and like my parents probably were a bit weird about me watching a film all based on casual drug use, you know. Yeah. Nevertheless, I did see the film, and the soundtrack was just incredible. You know, you have New Order, Iggy Pop, Blur, Lou Reed. Perfect Day came back into everyone's consciousness because of that film. I think later on it went on to be a charity single and all sorts of things, which is wild considering what it's about. And it just ended up being this, what would you call it, like zeitgeist. It was part of the cultural zeitgeist of that period of time. So yeah, I listened to all of those albums, and you know, because I think there was 2 soundtracks, but yeah, it was great, honestly. So yeah, Trainspotting, that's got to be in there.
So taking us back a little bit in time, I feel like we've talked about quite a few films from the 2000s.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about the soundtrack for The Shining. So again, sticking with some cult films here that probably everybody's seen, but thought I'd share some information that maybe people don't know about the soundtrack.
Yeah.
So obviously Stanley Kubrick's film The Shining, based on Stephen King's novel. It's a horror film. Jack Torrance stays in the Overlook Hotel over a very sketchy winter. Yeah. It doesn't end well.
We've all been there.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
And so the soundtrack is composed by Wendy Carlos and by Rachel Elkind. And Wendy Carlos herself is just like an absolute icon.
Yeah.
So Wendy, for those who don't know, she's a pioneering electronic composer. She helped Robert Moog build the first Moog synthesizer, and all the sounds of like a synthesizer, all the squelches, all the all those sounds that we know today all came from her and Robert Moog and how they created that together.
It's crazy. And if you get a chance, you can go on YouTube and you can see Wendy explaining how the synths work. And that's how I learned how to play synth.
Yeah. Not only an incredible like artist and composer, but someone that can also explain to you how sound works and makes it really easy to understand. So such an incredible like speaker as well, and an educator.
Yeah.
And I feel like trying to explain, like even now I don't really understand, like even now when you see videos of like records being pressed, I'm still like, I don't understand how the music gets on there.
It's magic.
It's magic.
Yeah.
So listening to someone talk about how synths create noises now, I still find as magic, and I can't even begin to think what it was like when she was talking about that back in the 70s and 80s and what people must have thought. But I wanted to include it because obviously you've got someone here that has made a soundtrack for a film, but made the instrument to make the soundtrack for the film, which is incredible. And for a horror film as well, hearing these sort of really haunting synthetic synthesizer noises that you wouldn't be familiar with, they just create all that unsettling vibe that the film ultimately is and puts you through. So right from the off, when you've got that huge shot that kind of follows the car all the way through the winding roads up to the hotel, it's a really, really long shot, and there's just this like haunting synth following it, and you just know you're on a road to absolute carnage of what's going to happen. But yeah, it wasn't the first time that Kubrick had worked with Wendy and Rachel. They also worked with them for A Clockwork Orange.
Yes.
So you've got these two people and these two women who were making film soundtracks that were absolutely crucial in the identity of Kubrick's films as well, and like what they came to be and the kind of the legacy that they still hold up now. And for what I thought was really interesting as well is when I was reading into it, I found out that they made a whole soundtrack for the film. But if you buy the soundtrack with Wendy and Rachel's work on, there's only 2 tracks on it.
Right.
And Kubrick actually only kept 2 of the tracks for the film and cut the rest out, which if you know anything about Stanley Kubrick, is very Stanley Kubrick of him. Like there's that story about the door that they use for The Shining. Like he had sent someone out to take hundreds and hundreds of photos of different doors because it had to be the exact door.
Yeah.
And obviously there's loads of stories about some of the not great practice and ethics that went on set in terms of how he would really
he gave Shelley Duvall a really hard time on that film.
Yeah, completely.
Later on she talked about it. And it's not uncommon with Kubrick for actors and actresses to say we had a really bad time during the filming of it. I think Harvey Keitel was due to play in Eyes Wide Shut and just walked off set after walking onto the scene like three or four times. He was like, how am I supposed to do this any different? I'm just walking in.
But he was doing it wrong.
So
it was no surprise to me that he kind of had just managed to take in the small elements. So somewhere out there is the rest of this soundtrack that they created that I don't know if we'll ever hear or listen to, but yeah, incredible, amazing. And then so Wendy also composed the soundtrack to Tron in 1982. Right. So yeah, again, all these like
synth heavy
things. But I would say, although The Shining is a horror, it kind of always for me feels like it touches into sci-fi sensibilities as well, because there is this kind of like otherworldly power that's going on.
The Shining.
So yeah, very much a defining composer of sci-fi at that time, and you still see all those things come through today in like the sci-fi films that I'm familiar with now. But yeah, if you want to get a copy of the soundtrack that originally came out, they're on Discogs. They go for like a silly amount of money. Yeah. However, it got repressed in 2021 thanks to the Death Waltz record company. So you can get your tracks, you can get your hands on the 2 tracks that are on the soundtrack for a lot less than you used to be able to.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Nice.
But also I'd say, so the rest of the film uses like 1930s like library ballroom music. So you've got this juxtaposition of like all these like haunting soundtracks that Wendy made, along with this like waltzy, happy 1930s, everything's fine at the hotel music.
Yeah.
The
ballroom scenes and all of that.
Yeah. Which just makes you feel like you're slowly losing your mind as the character is as well.
So good.
But yeah.
Excellent. Okay, well, the last one I'm going to talk about is going back to the 2000s again.
Take us back.
Dead Man's Shoes by Shane Meadows. Yeah.
It's a great film.
A great film.
I mean, great, but also
harrowing.
Absolutely harrowing.
Yeah, absolutely. So his 5th film at this point, 2 years before This Is England. So wasn't the Shane Meadows that everyone knows today. Still very much an indie filmmaker. I guess he always was, but very much at this point still like finding his fame. And mad performances from like Paddy Considine and that, you know.
And Toby Kebbell, right?
Toby Kebbell, yeah. In fact, the whole cast is actually pretty amazing. And so the soundtrack, extra special for me. It's got Smog, Richard Hawley, Adam.
Which Smog track is it?
So it's Vessel in Vain, which is probably my favorite Bill Callahan song.
Super nice.
Yeah, man. I there's something about that song that's just stayed with me all these years. And Bill Callahan's probably one of my favorite artists, and it's just incredible. But the actual soundtrack is just brilliant all the way through. You have Calexico writing specific things for the album, and yeah, it's basically a soundtrack to like grief, guilt, and I guess brutal vengeance, right?
There's a lot of like ambient music on there, isn't there? Lots of like atmospheric.
Aphex Twins on there. Yeah. It's just one of those soundtracks that if you watch the film, the film with any other soundtrack it just wouldn't be the same. It really plays an integral part in it, and I think that's why I chose it. But yeah, so I have to say, Dead Man's Shoes by Shane Meadows. Yeah.
It's great. I feel like I need to rewatch, not watch that in a while.
Yeah.
But I feel like I have to be emotionally ready.
It's just that one scene that always gets me where he's like, "You're here." Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. That scene, for everyone who knows, that scene is absolutely something else. I remember watching that and just being like, oh my God.
Yeah. Love Paddy Considine. I think that's the first time I probably came across Paddy Considine.
Yeah. And just what performance. Incredible. I mean, he'd done other things with him, Room for Romeo Brass and stuff. But
of course.
that performance specifically, terrifying, right? Anyway. I think that's it. I think those are our favorite soundtracks.
Yeah, let us know what yours are. It'd be really interesting to hear. Obviously, we talked about some of the big soundtrack kings at the beginning of the episode. But yeah, let us know what your favorites are and why. Because I think that's really interesting. How people use soundtracks. Was it the first time that you were introduced to that music? Is it because there's like a story behind it? But yeah, let us know. We'd love to know. So for Across the Counter, we like to look at some of the special records and pressings that have come into the shop this week. We've obviously got a soundtrack special to go in with the theme of the episode.
Yep.
So I'll kick us off with this lovely copy of Vangelis's Blade Runner soundtrack.
It's a classic soundtrack.
It's a classic soundtrack.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And I guess following on some of the sci-fi themes that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Blade Runner came out in 1982.
Yeah.
But actually the soundtrack didn't come out until 1994.
Oh, wow.
So quite like a long time to kind of like not bring that out or kind of, and especially because the music is so known in the film as well.
Yeah.
So this particular pressing is an audio fidelity pressing.
Yeah.
And why is that special?
So it was came out in 2013, very limited run, very high end pressing. A lot of people when this came out said this was one of the best sounding records of all time. So it comes with a hefty price tag. It's red translucent, I believe. And it's a numbered version as well, I think. So, but yeah, widely hailed as one of the best pressings of any electronic music ever. This is a stunning record. Yeah.
Yes, they were numbered. So this is number 1033.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, super nice. Sounds incredible.
Yeah.
Like you can really hear like the difference in pressing with the audio fidelity version.
This is the thing. So yeah, with some of these high end pressings, the quality becomes extremely apparent straight away. Like you can hear the depth of the record, you know. And so it's one of those very rare. It's a US pressing, as I said, and it's a pleasure to have. I did take it home. I did have a play of it. It is as good as everyone says it is, and just one of those soundtracks that just traverses time and sounds incredible. Yeah,
it's really nice. And then there's this really nice quote from Vangelis inside about So most of the music contained in this album originates from recordings that he made in London in 1982, so when the film was released. But yeah, finding himself unable to release these recordings at the time, it is of great pleasure that I am able to do so now. And that he says he still continues to be left with the powerful and evocative pictures that Ridley Scott left with him when he made the film. So I think it was really special for him as well to be able to finally bring out this soundtrack nearly a decade, well, over a decade after the film came out. So that's really nice.
That's proper cool, isn't it?
Nice.
Oh, no.
What other soundtracks have we got in at the moment?
So we're going to talk about, oh God, heavyweight, this one. So this is Dark Souls 2, right? So
Which is a game, right?
We're going back to gaming, yeah.
Nice.
So we were really lucky to get hold of, I think it was every soundtrack in this game's canon. So we had Demon Souls, we had Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3. And this is the only one we have left now.
They went really quickly.
They flew out. So, yeah, this is Red. This is a Red Poison Mist record.
I do love it when they're fun with the names.
Yeah, so it's dead good, but really heavyweight. And the soundtrack's absolutely incredible. If you get a chance to listen to it, it sounds sort of like classical, but also like haunting. Yeah, it's a really good soundtrack. And as I say, we had all three in, and the artworks are absolutely incredible. I'll see if I can get this out now.
Yeah, let's have a look inside.
So there's tons.
And there's like, is there
There's
records? Four records in
yeah.
there.
So this is what they call Red Poison. So it's like a nice red marbling. I think all of them were a different color. I think Dark Souls 3 was like a swamp green. It was a toxic swamp or something.
Yeah. They all had like a poison mist color.
Yeah. So very cool. And as I say, pretty rare to find. And just to have the whole collection was pretty wild. I think we actually have some footage of all of them. I think on our YouTube channel you did a video, short.
Yeah, so yeah, like across our channels, if you want to go and take a look at all the different pressings and how they're different, like scroll back a little bit and there's a short video on there.
That's super cool. What's next?
Nice. So taking us back to films, we have this really nice soundtrack in for Lost Highway, which is, again, God, this episode's been a bit sad. R.I.P. David Lynch.
I know.
1997 film by David Lynch. And then on here, you've got tracks by like David Bowie, Lou Reed, Barry Adamson, Angelo Badalamenti, The Smashing Pumpkins, Marilyn Manson, I Put a Spell on You. But yeah, huge soundtrack, but produced and put together by Trent Reznor, which is kind of why I wanted to talk about this as well, because Trent Reznor, Nine Inch Nails, has been someone that has been soundtracking quite a lot of films over the last few years, working a lot with like David Fincher. So The Social Network, I think, won loads of awards for the soundtrack at the time. He also did Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Gone Girl, and more recently, and one that we had in the shop was the soundtrack for Challengers. So definitely using lots of like electronic industrial noises in his like original compositions for films. But then this is obviously a curation of tracks that suit the story and David Lynch's style. Like, if you were to kind of like put a playlist together, do you think artists that David Lynch would be into? I feel like
it's perfect, isn't it? Yeah.
Lou Reed, David Bowie, that's all going to be there. And
such a wild film, like really weird. And pretty much summed up Lynch's ethos and career. So really interesting bits anyway, and we did have some other bits that have come and gone over the past couple of years, including we had the Up soundtrack.
Oh yeah, that was really beautiful,
gorgeous. We did a nice little video on that. That was
pressed through Mondo, is it? Who always press really, really like they take care of their records and their releases.
Yeah, that was a lovely splatter. Yeah,
that was really nice. And we also had the original soundtrack for High Fidelity as well, with the original cover that came out in the 90s. I know they repressed it for, was it Record Store Day this year or last year? But yeah, we had a copy, a first press in, I think like last year, which was really nice to see.
It was great.
It's gone now, but
yeah. That's it. I mean, they come and go, don't they? So
but yeah, always nice to get a nice soundtrack across the counter.
So, the next section we want to talk about is spotlighting some Liverpool talent. So we're going to talk about a local band called A Lesser Version. We caught them at Outer Waves. And And yeah, they were incredible, right?
They were so good.
Yeah.
It was one of those where we were kind of like going in between each room trying to see who was on next. And as soon as we heard them, we were like, what is this?
What is this? Yeah, it just sounded so professional. And so you can stream their first album, the album Excess, online. I think that was done solo.
Yes. So Liam, it's started the project a few years back. And I think the first two albums are just him.
I think so, yeah. And I would describe it as kind of like scuzzy alternative rock.
Definitely got a shoegaze vibe to it.
Shoegaze vibe with a modern twist. The album Excess I've just had on non-stop. Been listening to it quite a lot. So started in 2020, as we said, like solo project of Liam Evans. He recorded the first 2 LPs on his own, writing and playing nearly every instrument, which is unreal when you hear the quality of it, you know. Third LP apparently is on the way. With a full band. Liam is joined with Alex on guitar, Nick on drums, Adam on bass, and so this new album will be their debut as a live band. So they were finalists on the Green Man Rising competition, competing for a high level at the festival spot. And what did you think when you saw them?
Yeah, I thought they were amazing. It was really good. I mean, there was so much talent at the festival over those 2 days, but they particularly stood out for us.
Yeah.
And so they have locked themselves away at the moment to work on new music and to work on that album. So yeah, I really hope we get that soon.
Yeah.
And then we'll get to see them again, play live.
That would be good. And so if you get a chance to go and see a lesser version, please go and support them. I think there's big things ahead for them. I think they'll do really well.
Yeah, and then whilst you wait for that new album, go check out their first couple of albums and the album Excess as well. That's really good.
You can check them out on Bandcamp or on Apple Music. I think there's more available on Bandcamp. So, please go and check that out.
Nice.
What's next?
And then in terms of like news or things, so last season we shared lots of gigs that people could go along to. It was always quite difficult to like gather those dates and information, and things chop and change all the time. So like something we wanted to give a shout out on this episode is to go and have a look at Liverpool Events Database, which is a new website and like Instagram channel that's been set up by Music Scene.
We love Music Scene.
We love Music Scene. They're incredible. They've done loads of great work with the city, from launching a list of all the female artists that are in the city.
Helped us with the Liverpool map.
Yeah, they helped us launch the Liverpool Record Store map. They do sessions themselves in different places around the city. But yeah, they do loads and loads of things to support all the amazing talent in the city. And yeah, so what they have started doing is compiling all the gigs that are happening across 8 different ticketing sites. Because everyone has like their preference of where they go to find out gigs, but there isn't sort of like one place that has everything. So they've created a tool that kind of combines all these different ticketing sites into one place. So you can either check out Liverpool_events_database on Instagram, or also if you go to their website, which is musicscene.info, you can get to the calendar there as well. And when you go on it, it's really nice because you can go on like ticketed events and non-ticketed events.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and they do daily updates on social media. So if you kind of want to know what's coming up ahead, if you're like me, who likes to plan in advance, you can see what's coming up. Or if you're like, hey, should we go check out some live music tonight? You can just go and they'll be like, here's everything that's happening in the city tonight. And we get that question so much. People come into the shop if they're like visiting, if they're in town for like the football, or if they've come in on like the cruise ships, they're like, I want to see live music and I want to see it tonight. Where should I go? This has been something that we've been kind of like rolling out as a really handy tool.
That's really cool. And I guess from our perspective, it was really hard to like collate all the data, and then it's kind of like was out of date by the time people would watch the episodes, and it was just really hard to sort of do that. So this is something that we should help promote. Because it basically does all the heavy lifting for everyone else. So
exactly. And they work, they're working really hard to like get that information up to date. So like whenever you listen to this episode not in the past, you can't do that. We haven't invented time travel. Whether you listen to it when it comes out or listen to it in the future, go check out the Liverpool Events Database, because that will always give you real-time, up-to-date information about what's happening.
That's amazing. So Jess, I think that's the end of episode 3.
Yes.
We're making strides through this. We're flying through this podcast.
We're steaming through it.
Yeah.
Next week, we will have a special performance, and we'll share more about that very soon. But yeah, looking forward to having bands back in the shop and sharing that with you too.
Yeah, awesome. Hey, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next week.
See you next week.